This is the story of my 1991 Nissan 300ZX. I drove down to Medford, Oregon 10 hours to buy this car for $4,100. It was the cleanest, best mileage to price 300ZX around with only 114,000 miles. After a few months of ownership, there were very few problems, so I began to modify the car. I wanted to improve the driving quality of the car, so I replaced the front brakes, the front pads, the steering rack bushings, which took way too long, and the transmission fluid and shifter bushings. After a month, I decided to do the 120,000 mile maintenance, since the owner had no record of that maintenance ever having been done. Before the car underwent surgery, I wanted to take it out for one last drive. That's when this happened. I was hit by a deer while driving. I didn't want this to bring me down, so I started early on the timing belt job. I spent all my time completing this job, and in 3 days, we were finished, and the car worked great. I decided to take my car out the day after I finished the 120,000 mile maintenance, when this happened. After 12 miles of driving, with a loud violent jerk, the car stalled out and the engine wouldn't turn over. I knew at this point that I had bent all my valves, and the engine was toast. I thought all hope was lost. This is a really tough spot for me to be in. At least that's how it was until I found this on Craigslist. A rebuilt VG30DE that had never been used. It was the only 300ZX engine within 6 hours of driving distance. I jumped on it and began the swap. Once the wiring was removed, the exhaust was pulled and the drive shaft was disconnected. The engine itself wasn't that hard to remove. After moving some parts over from the old engine, like injectors, timing components, and engine mounts, it was almost ready to be dropped in. I decided to check the conditions of the pistons when I was moving the spark plugs over. These were the pistons of the old engine, and these were the pistons of the new engine. I took this as a go-ahead to drop the engine in. Then I removed the pilot bushing and my flywheel got resurfaced. I decided to install the clutch and pressure plate, but I forgot to put the transmission plate in, so I redid that whole part of the job. I finally got to dropping the engine in and then starting it for the first time. It cranked over and started, but not without any issues. It had a major oil leak coming from the oil filter tree, which broke upon removal. This was the first test drive. The car was not firing on all cylinders, but it actually made it around the block. My spark plug puller left its rubber ring around the spark plug so that it wasn't firing on all 6 cylinders. After I set my throttle positioning sensor, I took the car out for a short drive. It was at this point that the upper radiator hose fitting broke. I repaired it using a copper pipe and some putty, and I was on my way home. I bought a new radiator and a new coolant temperature sensor. I also decided to paint my old plenum gray and install it in the car. I think it looks really good. I decided to reinstall the older O2 sensors and try to fix my rough idle. The old ones look much better. I can say now that the knowledge that I've earned over doing the swap and owning this car is somewhat worth the price I had to pay. It is, after all, the best car I've ever driven. Thank you all for watching.